Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll be taking a look at the oh-so-popular Redragon Cobra M711. Possibly the best gaming mouse you can buy for the money. Keep watching to find out more. Okay, so this one has been a long time in coming. Many people have pointed out to me that the Redragon Cobra M711 is possibly one of the best mice you can pick up for the money. At the moment this retails for a bizarrely low price of, well, basically under £20. There are a couple of different variations of this mouse on the market, and due to Redragon's pretty aggressive marketing strategy, there's lots of options. So you've got the Cobra M711, you've got it in black, which is what we've got here. There's also a white version, which may cost you slightly more. But also there is a FPS version, which is basically an enhanced version of this with a better sensor and will cost you about £10 more, and again comes in both of those colour options, both the black and the white. So plenty of options to go for, and even at the higher price for the FPS version with a better sensor, under £30 for a high performance mouse, this takes a lot of beating. So we'll go through today, take a look at the packaging, do an unboxing, take a look at the specifications, the software for the mouse, and at the end we'll come back with my final thoughts. So let's start off with the packaging itself. So as you can see, this is actually a very unusual thing for a gaming mouse, or actually for pretty much any PC component these days. It actually comes in a plastic hard case, which for some of you may be thinking, well, that's an awful waste of plastic, but for others, you may be thinking, wow, that's ultra cool. For me personally, I'd probably rather see it come in a cardboard box, but yeah, it's down to individual preference. So as you can see on the front there, it says this is the US and UK version, and it does highlight some of the features on there, such as the DPI, the frequencies, etc, etc. The fact that it's got programmable buttons, 5 quick selectable profiles, and all that usual good RGB stuff. On the back it goes into some detail about the connectivity. So this is a USB mouse, 5-volt operation, and it tells you about the current and also the length of the cable, etc, which happens to be 180 centimeters, which is absolutely fine. And it's actually got a really nice braided cable, which we'll take a look at right now. The actual unboxing experience is quite a novel one. So we've got these plastic clips around the outside, which just open, and you could potentially use this as a very small sandwich box when you're done. Opening up the box, you get to see the mouse itself. And also there is a multilingual installation guide or instruction manual. And there's also an included sticker, should you wish to adorn your PC with the Redragon logo. So that's enough about the packaging, let's take a look at the mouse itself. So the mouse itself, actually, pretty nice looking mouse, and they didn't actually specify the weight of this one, so I did actually measure it on the scales, and it's difficult to do with or without cable, so essentially it comes in around about the 100 grams mark, which actually is a relatively heavy mouse as far as things go in these modern days. Fortunately, that is mostly made up because of pretty decent construction quality. Actually, it is a very solid mouse, and there's very little creak or flex in it, so that's definitely a good sign for those over enthusiastic gamers. The cable itself, as we said, so we've got 180 centimeters there, so almost 2 meters. There's a Velcro wraparound strap and a gold-plated USB 2.0 connector. The cable itself is okay, it's a little bit on the thin side and relatively stiff, but certainly I'd rather see this than just a regular rubber one or a vinyl cable. Taking a look at the mouse itself, and you can see, hopefully from the camera angles and some of the B-roll we've done, the top section is solid plastic with a very, very slight satin texture on it. Personally, I'd have liked to have seen a slightly better texture on there, maybe a little bit more detailed, possibly even rubberized to give you a little bit more grip. It actually feels really nice and smooth when it's in the palm. But potentially there is the occasion where you might slip a little bit because it is quite a smooth finish, although it does look very satin. Also as well, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed already where I've been using this, already picked up a little bit of grease on the left button there, which will come off, but certainly this is going to show fingerprints up pretty badly. Moving on to the side of the mouse, so you've got this indentation here, and also you've got a printed in kind of grip. It isn't a rubberized grip, it is just simply pressed into the molded plastic. It is relatively grippy, but I would have preferred to have seen some rubber on there, but again, for this price point, you can let that sort of thing go. It is going to be quite grippy, but again, you may find the tendency, very much like the top section, for a little bit of slippage. A nice feature, which is something we don't often see on mice these days, is the side buttons. Actually, one of them is textured and one of them isn't. So one is completely smooth, the other one has a kind of texture very similar to what is underneath. So in the heat of the moment, when you're battling away, you can quite easily feel with the side of your finger, or thumb if you're using your thumb left-handed or right-handed, you can feel which button is which very easily, which is something you may find yourself doing. The buttons are very close together, and because they're not very exposed, they're very kind of close into the side there, actually having the texture is very helpful. Moving around to the other side of the mouse, we've got pretty much the same thing. So we've got this design on the side, which is supposed to be quite grippy, but it is still quite shiny, very much like the plastic above it, but perfectly functional. Looking at the top of the mouse from a top-down shot, you can see we've got some buttons on here. So starting at the back, we have got our RGB button, so you can use that button to cycle through the various different RGB settings, which you'll see in the B-roll. The two buttons in front of that are for adjusting your DPI on the fly. So you can adjust it in 5 stages, and it does go up to a whopping 10,000 DPI. Now actually, we should talk about the specs. So the sensor in this particular mouse is a Pixart PWM 3325. Although some people have said that there are revisions of this mouse on the market which use a slightly different sensor, so do look out for that. And also when it comes down to the buttons as well, some of these mice are using Omron switches, others are using Huano, which are, it's really difficult to tell between the two, but if you take it apart, obviously you will notice there is a very slightly different sound to the Omrons, which I believe are in this particular mouse. Also, it does cater for up to 20G acceleration and can track it up to a whopping 100 inches per second, which is actually a pretty decent spec for this. So going back to the buttons, again, DPI buttons, above that we've got our mouse wheel, which has got a kind of tread pattern in it, which is actually quite nice. There's not a great deal of resistance actually on the wheel, so for those of you that are used to flicking it, then it's going to be absolutely fine for you. For those that like a real defined indentation between the mouse wheel clicks, then yeah, you are going to be missing that out a little bit. Although again, this is going to be down to personal preference. As is the grip. This is suitable for pretty much all grip styles. It isn't really specifically tailored towards one or the other, so depending if you're claw, palm or whatever, it's going to be absolutely fine. Although there is quite a defined hump towards this top section, so even if you are using some of the grip styles, you still may find it touching your palm at the back anyway because of the height of the hump. Moving on to the bottom of the mouse, so we've got some Teflon glides there, front and back, which seems to do a very good job of tracking both on a surface such as a table or a decent mouse mat. You've also got a button on there to quickly cycle through the 5 onboard profiles, which you can configure in the software, which we'll take a look at later. And in the middle, we've got that Pixart sensor, which seems to track exceptionally well. I suppose I should actually clarify, this is an ambidextrous mouse, although it is slightly more tailored towards right-handers than left-handers. But yeah, either way, you're going to be absolutely fine. For those of you that are into button noises, let's go through and test those out. So this is the left click. Then the right click. The middle mouse. And then we've got DPI buttons. Moving on to the side, we've got the forward button. And the back button. Some of you may have already noticed that there is a little bit of a creak that goes on with the side buttons there, and I'll go through that again so you can actually hear it, but there is definitely some sort of internal creaking noise there where it seems to be kind of interfering with something else or vibrating with something else. And you notice the top 3 buttons all have a slightly different sound to them as well. Again, nothing really to worry about, but some people may be concerned about it, so there you go. So we've seen what the buttons are like, let's plug it in and see what the RGB is like. So with the mouse plugged in, I've got it plugged into the PC behind me, so if it starts going mad, yeah, I do apologise for that. But the RGB lighting is actually one of the highlights of this particular mouse. It's very bright, very vivid, although for some people, the slightly more purists, you may notice that some of the lighting elements, there is a kind of clear definition between them in some stages of the lighting cycle, so it's not entirely smooth, but certainly for a initial glance, I think it looks absolutely fine. And the RGB lighting starts off at the front, just off from the cable, runs all the way around the peripheral edges, and right the way back again, which is excellent. Also, both sides of the wheel are actually illuminated, which is always good. and also on the back you've also got the Redragon logo, which illuminates. A nice feature which I like about this particular RGB setup is the fact that whichever setting you're on, all of it illuminates the same. So your DPI setting doesn't interfere with your lighting, etc, etc. As we change through the DPI settings, which we'll press the buttons now, you can see there is a visual confirmation, and also they are color coded, which you can change in the software. So at the moment we're on the lowest setting, so if we use the back button, so this is red. If you go up a level, then we go to blue, then we've got green, then we've got like a pinky color, then you've got yellow, and that is it. So you press it again, it won't change, it won't go any higher, it doesn't go around in a loop. So as you go all the way back, it goes to the back. If you go all the way to the front, it goes to the front. Now obviously this has got an incredible amount of DPI range settings, anything from 100 DPI up to 10,000 DPI. Now personally, I don't know anybody who actually uses a PC or a mouse at that kind of resolution. And even if you go for the higher rated version of this, the FPS version, which can do up to a stunning 24,000 DPI, again, I don't know anyone who goes up to 10,000 DPI, let alone 24,000, but again, it does add resolution, so you don't have to game at that to get the benefits from the sensor. So for me, generally, I tend to play at around about 1,500 DPI, maybe 2,000, depending on the surface and the mouse I'm using. And that is what I've used to actually do some testing on this. And I can confirm in things like CSGO and also just in web browsing, using Windows in general, and pretty much any other FPS type game, it's absolutely brilliant. There's no complaints whatsoever. The only one thing I would say for me personally, now this is very much a personal thing, is I would have preferred there to be a little bit more of an indentation or notch actually on the wheel, especially in things like CSGO when I'm changing weapons, especially if you're doing it in the heat at the moment. It is actually quite easy to kind of do 2 clicks rather than 1. So you go from being kind of shotgun into basically a knife, which, yeah, never bring a knife to a gunfight. So in terms of RGB, let's take a look at the RGB button. So that is the back button here. Again, this is something which I possibly would have liked to have seen done slightly differently. Maybe a button elsewhere on the bottom. It's one of those things that changing RGB on the fly when you're in the middle of a game is something you probably don't want to do. Changing DPI possibly, if you're switching weapons to a zoom sight, that kind of thing, then maybe that could be useful. You may find yourself accidentally pressing that, so that is something to be concerned of. If you press the button once, it just cycles through and goes through to the next color scheme. If you want to change again, then you can just keep on pressing and you can do fast clicks to actually cycle through the various options, of which there are many, which to me, honestly, I would say you're probably best off doing this in the software, although the software is a little bit on the clunky side, which actually we could take a look at now. So let's take a look at the Redragon M711 software. You can download this from the Redragon site. I'll put some links in the video description so you can pick this up for yourself. I'll try and do a shot of both the Redragon software and also the mouse in real time so you can see the changes as they happen. So first of all, on our general screen, we've got our programmable buttons here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 programmable buttons there. So you can go through and change those to other things should you wish to. Also, you can change the options for your acceleration, your pointer speed, your scroll speed, and your double click speed. Also, you've got options for polling rates up to 1000 Hertz. So that is it for general. Obviously, again, you can choose individual profiles. So let's change to profile 1. Do you see the lag there? There's a definite lag when switching through the profiles. So click on there, click on apply, and the mouse should then respond. So going over into the DPI section now. So you've got DPI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, you can enable or disable those if you want to. So if you don't want to accidentally press the button, you can. And you've also got the options there to change, obviously, between 100 DPI in gradients of 100s all the way up to the whopping 10,000 DPI, which is pretty insane. So I would probably choose around about 13 to 1500, somewhere around that sort of thing. So choose that, click apply, and then that will send the settings to your mouse and you're done. Next up is the lighting section. So the default kind of thing is the breathing. You can go in and choose things like rainbow, and you can adjust the speeds, etc, etc. Full lighted. The descriptions here aren't particularly accurate for what they are really, but you can get an idea. So you can change to yellow, hit apply. And eventually, there you go, it's finally picked up. So it's a little bit slow on the take up on that. Let's try the pale blue, which you probably won't be able to see on camera because of the lighting, but we'll see what it looks like. And there you go. So there is a considerable delay, unfortunately. So we can go into wave, click on apply. It has a think about it, and then goes into the wave mode, and actually looks quite good. We can also change the brightness level, which again you may or may not actually notice. There we go, eventually it's picked up. So yeah, you get the general idea. So if we go down with go without trace, that's another kind of RGB chase effect. We've also got reactive, so that goes on movement, so every time you move it, it changes colour a little bit. And then you've got flash, which, yeah, not great. And also, if you don't like RGB, then clearly you can choose off, and it just basically looks like it's gone to sleep. So I think I'm going to stick with, what do we like? Let's try rainbow again. I think that's the default setting anyway. And that's just going through the colours, so let's do wave. I think that's the closest to RGB puke as we're going to get. Yeah, that works for me. So last one is your info. So there's the information about it, and also the section where you can go and download drivers, etc. So yeah, there's not really a great deal you can do in here, apart from obviously change the settings. Doesn't appear to be any obvious way of setting a macro, which yeah, is a little bit unusual. You'd have thought there'd have been a way to set a macro. Maybe I'm just being stupid, potentially. It has happened, but anyway. So that is the software. Let's get back to the review. Okay, so there you go. You've seen the software. It's yeah, a little bit on the clunky side, but essentially it gets the job done. So what are my final thoughts on this? Obviously, the fact that this is super cheap, and actually I should say, I did forget to say at the beginning, this was actually sent to us for review purposes by Ugly Bob, God bless him, and also a letter. If you're watching, this is your mouse, so I figured it'd be time to actually take a look and see what it is you use on a daily basis. And I've got to be honest with you, for the money, you cannot fault it. This is one of the reasons why this mouse is so ridiculously popular. If you do a search, M711 on YouTube, it's just Minecraft. And it seems to be extremely popular for that, due to the ability on, well, for some people, I can't do it, but for some people you can do drag clicking, which means you can basically just use like resistance and do crazy amounts of clicks. I still haven't grasped the method behind that, but then I don't play Minecraft, so there is that to it. But essentially, I think, apart from what I would call possibly a subpar piece of software, if you're just using a mouse and you want to game with it, it's got everything you would need. It's comfortable, it's accurate, the buttons work very well, it's very responsive, again, tracks on all surfaces, and actually slides around really nicely, even on this desk, which is pretty horrible. It does glide very nicely, it glides really nice on a mouse mat as well. So ultimately, I think this is why this is probably Amazon's best version of a mouse for the money that you can get for gaming. It really is. But please do let me know what you think about this one in the comments section below. There will be affiliated links in the video description, so if you want to pick one up for yourself, you can do, in either the standard version, the M711, or the M711 FPS version, which again is a little bit dearer, and again, options for either a black or white. So should fit pretty much everybody's budgets and colour themes. So I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and while you're at it, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.